One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Have you been wanting to start a podcast? You've been thinking about it. It feels right. You just know this is the next thing that my business needs. Well, I encourage you to sign up for my 5-day podcast bootcamp. This is a thing that you have been looking for. It is a 5-day video series where I walk you through exactly how to start, launch, and market your podcast. And I throw in some more information about planning strategies and being consistent and how you can make the most out of your podcast from day one. So sign up for our 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp at krystalprofit.com/podcast bootcamp. And do it already. You know that you've been wanting to, so just bite the bullet and join us. Hello, everybody. We are back in the studio, which is funny. I don't even know why I said that because I don't even consider we're in my office, okay? But it just, something about saying that today just felt right, okay? Like, do you ever get those like moments of spontaneous ridiculousness? That's exactly where that stemmed from today. So today I am so excited to share with you all about a basic solo podcast recording setup. I've kind of talked about this in different aspects of, doing solo podcast and what goes into it. Like we talked about formatting your show and everything, but I want to talk about this, like the 3 basic things that I think that you should focus on if you're going to have either a solo only podcast or if you're going to do solo and interview podcast, but you're going to be kind of heavier on the solo episodes. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so it's been a hot minute since I've done a listener shout out, and we have just gotten some fantastic reviews lately. So I wanted to make sure and give a special shout out real fast to Heart Centered and Practical, who said on Apple Podcast, my new favorite podcast. Since finding Krystal and the Profit Podcast, I've been binge listening to it. Krystal shares practical tips and advice that anyone can implement. Her personality is charming and engaging, and she lets you know it's okay not to be perfect. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, you need to binge listen to the Profit Podcast. Thank you so much, Heart-Centered and Practical. This was just so sweet. It was such a great surprise to see this review, and don't worry, if you've left a review in the past, I plan on doing some catching up to all of the ones that I haven't shared with y'all, but I just wanted to say I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. If you haven't left a review, I would encourage you to, because it just really means so, like, the feedback is so important. I love that, they put on here, she lets you know it's okay not to be perfect, because man, that just really hits home with everything that I'm trying to do here. And I love that that is the message that is getting across to you, because I feel like that is what I needed to hear so much when I was first starting with my podcast. You don't have to be perfect. That is still the message that I live my life by every single day when it comes to motherhood and parenting and marriage and like just everything. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, right? You have to show up consistently and try to add value and just be exactly who you are. So thank you so much for that amazing review. And I plan on reading some of the other reviews that are about the Profit Podcast. So make sure you go and leave a review. That way I can read yours on the show. Okay, let's get into today's topic, which is all about solo podcast recording. Like I said at the beginning, this could be for if you have a solo only podcast or if you do interviews every once in a while. Like, I really just want to talk about the 3 most important things that have to do with a solo podcast recording setup. And the first one, like, we're just going to dive right into it. I don't want to waste any time today because the first one is so important. Your environment is everything. And if you've been listening for a while, you know that I've talked about, I recorded in my closet for a very long time. Okay. Like, it wasn't that long ago that I switched to recording in my office, which is where I am now. I know earlier I'm like, oh, I'm in the studio. No, I don't have a studio. I'm in my office. And I purchased it's basically like acoustic foam that fits over my microphone, and it really deadens a lot of the echo that I was having in my office. But it's not perfect, but it's the best solution that I've found so far. But y'all, I could have like a $5,000 microphone that I'm talking on right now, but it would still have this echo in the background. So, but if I took my $20 microphone and went into my closet, which is what I've done for a really long time, it would sound better because there's no echo in my closet. There's clothes everywhere. There's carpet on the floor. Like, it's just, there's a lot more stuff in there. So it's a better way to deaden the sound. So that is the first and foremost. I want you to evaluate your environment. Are you trying to record in like a big open space? I've had people say that they've tried recording at their dining room table and it was too much. Like, the kids are in the background, or, you can hear like there's tile floors that they're on, or they accidentally knock the desk or something, which, by the way, first of all, let's address this first. It is okay if people hear your kids in the background, and it is okay if you accidentally knock your knee against the desk, and it is okay if you clear your throat in the middle of you recording yourself, okay? Like, let's break the stigma of you have to have the best, most elaborate, fantastic recording ever on file. Like, no, stop. Like, no, ain't nobody got time for that. I love that. I love that. If you have not, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. If you've never seen the YouTube video of the woman on the news from being in it was like at a burning apartment or something, it's just the best thing ever. And I just love that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, none of us, we don't have time for that. We don't have time to be perfect because we are too busy trying to impact other people's lives to worry about someone judging us that you can hear the kids in the other room. I don't care. I don't care. When I listen to someone else's podcast, maybe that's the thing, is some people do care because they're like, oh my gosh, I would never. And I have my fancy pants on now. I'm got my pinky up and I'm like, oh, I would never stoop to the level of listening to a podcast where you hear a child in the other room. That is nonsense. It is not going to happen on my watch. See, I can't even do the proper snooty person because it's so far out of my personality. That is not me. It's not who I am. I love everybody for their faults. I think that that's what makes us unique. So I don't think that we need to harp on having perfect audio. I think you should have great quality. I think you should be able to make it sound where people can actually listen to it and not be like, oh, your audio is so loud, my ears are bleeding. That's not good because people won't come back every week to listen to that. But I think that you should concentrate on your environment. Do you feel comfortable? Are you sitting? Are you standing? Are you sitting on the floor? Is the microphone in front of your face? Get in a comfortable position because, guys, when you sit down and record your episodes, you're probably going to be there for, a hot minute. Who knows? If you're batching, I'm actually batching a whole bunch of episodes today, and I'm going to be sitting here talking for probably an hour or two, and I want to be comfortable. I used to sit in my closet on the floor with this ottoman where I had my laptop propped up on that. I had my microphone on a stand, on a chair. When I say a stand, not a mic stand, on a little bench that I have in my bathroom. I would bring that out. Sometimes I'd sit on the ottoman and then have the little bench with my laptop and my microphone. I can't even tell you how many times I was like, oh my gosh, everything's just going to fall over and break into 1,000 pieces. But it's what I did because I knew that my environment was so important to having better quality audio. So that's my first tip, is make sure you do whatever you can to be in an environment that's conducive to you recording. But also, I want you to be comfortable. So if you don't have any means to set up something in a closet or somewhere else, I think that, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm kind of torn between sacrificing 30 minutes of comfort, maybe break up your sessions of recording if it's not comfortable, if that's going to create better audio. But if it's just Krystal, I can't sit on the floor, it's not going to be comfortable, I feel awkward being in my closet, whatever, well then use whatever space that you have and treat it as best as possible. Y'all, you could put a freaking blanket over your head while you're recording and deaden a lot of the sounds. Again, it's not very comfortable. I actually did that for a YouTube video one time where I put a blanket over my head and I couldn't hardly breathe. I could barely breathe under this blanket. And I was like, I don't know how people do this. I've seen where people talk about podcasting in a hotel room and they're like, the echo was so bad, I got in a blanket under. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I can't breathe under here. Maybe I'm just slightly claustrophobic, but no, I do not want to be under blanket recording a podcast. Okay. I have too much hot air for that. And it's not good. Okay. So that's the first thing. We've talked about our environment. The second thing is your microphone. Okay. This is,
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
I think that often so many people really get caught up in the equipment and do I have the right equipment and do I have this and do I have that? And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't. And I know some people are like, wait, what, Krystal? Like everyone else talks about equipment. What are you talking about? If you go back and listen to episodes of this podcast, I have recorded on a $20 microphone. I have recorded on my iPhone. I have recorded on my Blue Yeti, which is a little over $100. I've recorded on my Tascam, which is, close to $200. I mean, I've been all over the place. I'm not just saying this as like someone who's only recorded on like a $5,000 microphone. I'm telling you, your microphone does not matter as much as you think that it does. What's more important is how you speak into your microphone and the settings that you have it set on. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. The actual microphone itself is not as important as how the settings are set up and how close it is to you whenever you're recording. Because I could have my phone, I could record on there. When I actually did my phone episode, I'm pretty sure that I had my earbuds in. I had an iPhone 6 and I had the earbuds that have the built-in microphone. And so that's what I was speaking into. And it wasn't the best podcast I've ever, done, but it worked. And it was fantastic for what I was doing. I was on vacation, guys. I was able to record. I was in San Antonio in a hotel lobby at like 6:30 in the morning, and I was able to record my podcast because to me, consistency is more important than having the best audio quality ever. Like if it's going to hinder you to not be consistent and then you're all stressed out because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't record in this like perfect setting where everybody's comfortable. I have my water. I've gone to the bathroom. There's no interruptions. Like all these, like that's not life, in my opinion. That's not reality. Like you have to prepare for times when you got to bootstrap it and you just got to make it work. Like, yeah, in an ideal world, you'll have everything batched and everything recorded and somebody else does all the editing and you can just like record and walk away and some little fairies take care of all the other stuff. But that's not my reality. And I do this for a living. Like that is not how it works for me. So I just want you to know that no matter where you record, whatever microphone you're using, you have to make sure that it sounds great whenever you're recording. So whether that means you getting closer to the microphone, like closer to the input device or further away, it is very important to make sure that however your voice goes into whatever you're recording sounds great. So I recently did a YouTube video about this, about setting up your microphone, and I kind of went into the Blue Yeti because that's actually what I'm using right now. And I talk about you have to make sure that the gain volume, so if you are familiar with the Blue Yeti, it has a button. It's not a button. It's a turn dial on the back, and it says gain. And what that means is that is your input volume whenever you're recording. So if it is like directly in the center, then that means it's pretty balanced, but that doesn't take into account whether you are loud or whether you are soft-spoken. I'm a loud person, you guys. Like I've talked about this before, that like my input volume, like I'm recording right now on Audacity, and my input volume is like half of what it defaults to. Okay. Like 100%, we're at like maybe 45 right now. So I have to adjust, instead of adjusting who I am, because that feels weird. That feels awkward to try to make myself not as loud when I'm just a naturally loud person, it doesn't feel right. Like if I try to sit, I'm talking to you just like I would if we were sitting here having coffee, and I want to speak at my natural volume. So I would rather tailor whatever I'm speaking into to that. And I do the same thing if I'm recording on my Tascam. I turn down the input volume. If I'm recording on my phone, maybe I will do a test. Like I'll record, like just talking like, hey, this is Krystal, whatever. And then if it's too loud, then I know like, oh, I need to move the microphone further away from my mouth. Or if it's not loud enough, I get it, if there's background noise, whatever. I think that you need to test and make sure that everything sounds great. But I think that you should tailor the settings and where your microphone is actually placed, like as it relates to your mouth and when you're speaking, instead of worrying so much about the actual microphone. Guys, I did this for, I want to say almost 40 episodes. I think I've decided it was like episode 37 or 38 was when I finally had the opportunity to upgrade. Like I almost did this for a full year with a $20 microphone. If I can start out like that, so can you. Don't worry about buying expensive equipment because it doesn't matter. Again, going back to, you could have a $5,000 microphone, but if it's so echoey, people can barely hear you or understand you, it's not going to matter. So those are the first two. So we have your environment, then we talk about your microphone, and then the third, which I've kind of touched on a little bit, is your software. So you have to make sure that your software, whatever your recording is set up to your voice and your input levels. So like I said, we've already touched on this a little bit, but I'm recording in Audacity right now. Literally, as I speak, I can sit here, I'm watching the lines bounce up and down on my computer, and I have my input volume turned down. I have it turned way down. Whenever I was first starting out, it was almost at 100. And then, I'm sitting here recording and my line is bouncing up and down. It's all green. But then whenever I get louder, it starts creeping into the yellow, sometimes a little bit into the red. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait, maybe I'm getting up on my soapbox. I'm getting a little too excited. And instead of kind of toning myself down, I don't think that you should do that. I think that you should just move your mouth further away. Like go on the other side of the room. If you're getting heated, you're getting fired up, whatever, like still use the same energy to get your point across. Just move further away from the microphone. Don't try to tone down who you really are to like fit the software and to fit the microphone. Be who you are. Be who you are. And if that's like, I'm loud, and I'm going to be loud. And I know it drives my husband crazy because he wishes that I had a volume, like a volume dial that he could adjust in the mornings after I've had 2 cups of coffee and he's just waking up. I know he's just like, oh my gosh, you're just so loud. And it's funny, like total side note, he had to do a presentation at work the other day and he said something about, he was like, well, it was, I got some feedback from, upper management. And he said that somebody was like, well, your projection was great. Like you're really loud. And then he said, I wonder where I get that from. And I was like, yes, you can thank my loudness, my loud voice. You're welcome. I'll take it. He just started laughing. Oh, this is just like an inside joke because he's like, no, really, do you understand how loud you are? And I'm like, nope. And I'm probably going to be deaf when I'm older, to be honest, guys. Like I'm just so loud in my own head and like just like speaking on, like I'm just kind of riding this wave right now while I can because I'm just so loud. And everybody in my house is probably going to be deaf too because I'm so loud, but I embrace it. It's who I am. Like I said, instead of adjusting my natural pitch and how I sound, if I sounded like this, then this would feel really weird and it doesn't feel natural to me. And like, I can already feel like my shoulders are like slumped over now. And I feel like this is a whisper to me, guys, which is another indication. See, look, I can't even do it for very long. Like my natural pitch, like just kicks in and it's like, Krystal, why are you whispering into the microphone? This is weird. We just need to talk normally. But do you see what I'm saying? Like adjust your environment, your microphone, and your software to your needs, not the other way around. Don't adjust yourself. Be exactly who you are. Speak into the microphone with confidence, and this will actually help you speak more confidently because it doesn't feel so weird. It feels very natural to just hit record and be yourself. That's what I want you to do. That is what is going to make this process so much more fun, is you just hitting that record button and talking like you're talking to a friend. Like I said, I'm speaking just like we were having coffee. And this is how our conversation would go. This is exactly what it would sound like. You and I just sitting here chatting. So I hope that this was helpful today. Let me know what you think about this episode, because I want to do some more about recording solo podcasts, because I've had some specific questions about recording solo episodes, and I want to know what your questions are. I have ideas. I have no shortage of ideas and all the podcast things I want to talk about, but I want to know specifically your questions when it comes to solo podcast, recording, setup, whatever. Let me know. So make sure you check out the show notes for this episode, krystalprofit.com/episode 130. Make sure that you subscribe to the show if you have not already, and leave us a review. Leave us a rating and a review. I would love to read your review on one of our upcoming episodes. And that's it. Make sure you sign up for the free 5-day podcast bootcamp, and I will talk to you guys later. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, "Send Krystal a text message." And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, "Send Krystal a text message." And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.